There we go. All right, let me settle in there, find that groove. Hello everybody, Jim here. Welcome back for another edition of more games. I got more games, oddly enough. How unlike me. So hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing good today on this mighty Monday morning as I'm shooting this, having a bit of this. Good old coffee made all that much better by the Bubble Bobble coffee mug. All right, what do we have today? Well, today, once again, we got a nice stack of Sega Saturn games. The Sega Saturn, always a hit. The kids love it, and I love it too. Still play my Sega Saturn quite a lot, so I have half a dozen games here. Good stuff. Some of it really inexpensive, some of it really expensive. So it's a little bit of a mix as far as like collectors might want some of this stuff. Starting off with a game that's actually really inexpensive. I mean, at max, this is maybe like a $20 game, and a game that gets kind of a mixed reaction, but I don't know, a game I enjoy for one reason or another. It is Sonic R. And I say one reason or another, I think really the main reason is I like the soundtrack in this game. You know, really good soundtrack. Visually, like the 3D, kind of the primitive 3D polygon Sonic characters do not look particularly good. Don't really look good at all. Sonic himself, I guess he kind of looks like he did in like the overworld of Sonic Jam. But anyway, so this is a racing game, and not a good racing game at all. In fact, on the back, it's just a bunch of question marks. It says racing, rapid, running, rush. What does the R stand for? Retire? So it's a racing game, but anyone who's ever played this will tell you that the controls are super slippery. So especially like if you're trying to play a Sonic, or, you know, you can't play this like a traditional racing game. You can't be dedicated to staying on the course. You're just gonna have to accept the fact that you're gonna go way off the course, and the stages seem like kind of designed that way. Like there's a bunch of stuff like off of the course and shortcuts you can take and stuff like that. So it's a racing game, but it seems like the idea is to not stick to the course and to go running and jumping all around. Which is fine, but that's not really what you want in a racing game. Typically the point of a racing game is you race on the course and you don't go slipping and sliding all over the place. So, I mean, despite the fact that this game does not play really well at all, it's still a Sonic game, so it has kind of like the hallmarks of a Sonic game, like the colorful visuals and the characters you would expect to see, and again, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is really good. It's super catchy, upbeat music. The Living in the City soundtrack, the Can You Feel the Sunshine song. These are great songs. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, great songs, and they go a long way to making this a more enjoyable game. So the gameplay is like, it's wonky as hell, but colorful visuals, great soundtrack, and just sort of like that Sonic attitude and feel. And I don't know, it's just a thing, I guess, right? A lot of these Sonic games have that appeal to them. Even when the Sonic games are really bad and terrible, Sonic, like the characters and the world it creates, is likable anyway. So I don't know. Some people say they really like this game. I won't go that far. I won't say I really like this game. I will say I like this game despite its many, many shortcomings. It is enjoyable. You just have to be in the mindset that this is not really like a racing game. This is just a get to the end of the race, kind of whatever means possible kind of game. So there you go. Sonic R, Sega Saturn. What can you say about such a game that does so much and so little at the same time? Next up, a bit of a more expensive one, although not like crazy expensive. Maybe more in the neighborhood of like a $60 to $80 game, so it's not one of those like huge heavy hitters on the Saturn, but it is a great shoot 'em up, and that is Sengoku Blade. Sengoku Blade by Akikyo. which I will say right now, if you pick up, it's one of the Psycho shooting collections. You can play Sengoku Blade without having to pay like that much money. Like, I think it's Psycho Collection Volume 2. You can get like Sengoku Blade and Strikers 1945 2, I think like Dragon Blaze or something, a couple of other games. Sengoku Blade. Okay, so this game is awesome. Side-scrolling shooter. It's a little different for Psycho. They usually made top-down shooters. Side-scrolling shooter, a bunch of different characters to choose from. All of them have their strengths and weaknesses, and it plays a lot like other Psycho games. So you get your power-ups, you get your character more and more powerful, you get your super bombs, and you get charge shots. So again, the charge shot is different for each character. And the first handful of stages are all in random order. Like, I think like the first 4 stages are in random order, and then the final, like the back end of the game is sequential. So like, for example, if you've ever played Gunbird, the stage layout it's the same as Gunbird. So you have some random assortment of stages, and then you have a sequence of stages for like the second half of the game. So great visuals, really good sound design, a lot of kind of like traditional sounding Japanese instrumentation in here, because this is, as it says, Sengoku Blade, set in Sengoku area Japan, which is like medieval Japan. But great gameplay, really fun, nice graphics, good sound design, and not really much else to say, honestly. If you've played a Psycho shooter, you kind of get the gist. Psycho is really good at making shooters. The Strikers games, the Gunbird games. I guess this is part of the Sengoku Ace series, technically, as the first game was Sengoku Ace, and it was a top-down shooter. But these games are fantastic. You get a big assortment of characters. You get a bunch of power-ups and charge shots and super bombs, and like I want to say like 8 stages all together. Not the most challenging game, mind you, but pretty good. And again, as is typical of Psycho shooters, there are a bunch of difficulty settings. I think there are like 8 different difficulty settings. So you can go all the way down to 1, which is like monkey. So I guess the implication is like even a monkey could beat this at this point. And then you can go all the way up to like 8, which is like, ridiculously hard, almost like on a bullet hell level. So yeah, great game. Again, the Saturn version, a little expensive these days, but you can pick this up in the Psycho shooting collections, which is inexpensive and comes with a bunch of other games too. So whichever way you're going to play it, I would recommend this one for shooter fans, because it is awesome, and it is Sengoku Blade. And always happy to have that one hanging around. Next up, another great game, another one that's kind of expensive these days, but is well worth it. And I'm not sure this has gotten any other releases as of late, like digitally or anything. I hope it has, because I'd like more people to be able to play this. This is Wolf Fang SS. This is by, is it Crossing Entertainment or Xing Entertainment, and Data East. This is a good old Data East. I believe this was an arcade game released, it says here, in 1994, and then it was ported in 1997. So this game, super awesome. So you got a mech suit that you can customize before you start playing the game. So you got different guns and swords and missiles and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's essentially like an auto-scroller. And so you're chugging along, and like enemies are coming in, so it's almost like a shooter in that case. But you basically you're dashing back and forth. Enemies get close to you, you kind of like kill them with wrist blades. You shoot everything down with machine guns and whatnot. You can launch like homing missile attacks and everything like that. Just a really fun, straightforward action game. Again, this would have been like, I've never played this in an arcade before. I can imagine this would be like a really fun arcade game to play. But as it is on the Saturn, this is a crazy fun game. Very simple, very straightforward. If you're like me, if you like just kind of like pick up and play action arcade style games, this is great. It also has 2-player co-op if you have a second player to join along. Lots of stuff to destroy, big boss battles to take on, and they even threw in some like 3D rendered cutscenes and whatnot to, I guess, kick it up a notch. Not really necessary if you ask me. This game already looks good. Really great, beautiful 2D graphics. Pretty good soundtrack as well. So overall, this is just like an incredibly fun game. Like I said, it is a little bit more of an expensive game. It can be up to like $100, I think, which is about what I picked up this particular copy for. I'm not going to hang on to this forever. I am going to let it go pretty soon, but this game is awesome. I feel like I've had this game like 3 or 4 times at this point. Yeah, just a fantastic game. If you're a Sega Saturn collector, particularly if you're a Sega Saturn collector and you have like that kind of spare income, this is a game that I would say would be kind of essential for any Sega Saturn collection, especially if you're into these arcade conversions, these action games on the Saturn. Great 2D games always on this console. But yeah, a little pricey. And like I said, right now I don't know if it's been ported to anything else, if it's been released digitally or anything, but I hope it has. Because it's a great game, and if the only way to play it is on the Sega Saturn for like $100, that's, you know, kind of lame. It would be nice to see it for like $20 on, you know, the Switch or something as part of a collection. But anyway, love this game. So happy to have it with me right now. Having a lot of fun with it. Fang SS, Sega Saturn. Yeah, great game. Amazing. Loving it. Alright, so that's a few Sega Saturn games. So I'm going to take a sip off the coffee. I'm going to take a little break. So check this out and we'll be right back.
かつてない冒険が今始まる。ハイブリッドアドベンチャーウイルスセガサターン。
Alright, and we are back. A few more Sega Saturn games here that are just awesome. Some great titles here. Here we have a title which the English title, a lot of you will know this game on the PlayStation, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Here it is Akumajo Dracula X, and the subtitle is Gekka no Yasokyoku. So there you go, so Dracula X. Yeah, so the Sega Saturn version of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Okay, why is there a Sega Saturn version of Symphony of the Night? I don't know, you'll have to go ask the people at Konami. I will say this, there's, aside from some little additions, and when I say little additions, they are quite little, there are some Saturn exclusive areas added to the castle, but they are very small. There's not much exploration to be done in them, so it's not like this great addition. I think one of them is like an underground, it's like a garden, like a secret garden, and the other one, I can't even recall what it is right now, but there are 2 areas in this game that are not included in the PlayStation version. Aside from that, what is different about this game? Not much, really. There are some graphical differences. In particular, I think the transparencies are, they look like mesh on this, on the Saturn version. They don't do transparencies very well, apparently. But other than that, it is basically the same game. One other kind of cool thing. So in the PlayStation version, after you finish the game as Alucard, you can start a new game, put your name in as Richter, and then you can play through the game as Richter Belmont. Here, when you start a new game, you have 3 characters to choose from. You can play through the game as Alucard, as normal, or you can choose either Richter or Maria. That's right, Maria Renard. She is a playable character exclusive to the Sega Saturn version, and much like Richter, she's pretty cool. She has all kinds of special abilities and stuff, and you're not worried about any story elements. You're just running through the castle trying to get to the end and destroy Dracula. So that's pretty cool. So you have 3 different playable characters to choose from right at the start of the game, a couple of additional small areas included in the map, and aside from that, it's still Symphony of the Night. Still a great game, amazing visuals, amazing soundtrack, super fun gameplay. This the game that created the Metroidvania style of Castlevania game, which became like the dominant, most popular style. Yeah, I love Symphony of the Night. I've loved Symphony of the Night since I want to say I was like 12 years old when I first played it on the PlayStation. It's an amazing game on the PlayStation, on the Saturn, whatever the case may be. It's a game, if you've never played it, you're definitely going to want to play it because it's awesome. And if you have played it, play it again. And remind yourself of just what a great game it is. But anyway, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Akumajo, Dracula X, Gekka no Yasokyoku on the Sega Saturn. Very cool. Another one that's kind of expensive. It didn't used to be so expensive. Like when I first got my copy of it, it was like $30 or something. Now it's like $100. Crazy. Speaking of expensive games, and this is not to show off or anything, I want to like emphasize that if you have like more affordable ways to play any of these games, do that. This is just something where like these are awesome games, and kind of coincidentally some of them are also very expensive, but I like these games and I want to talk about them. This game is one of those really expensive games. It's hundreds of dollars, but it's awesome beyond words. It is Super Tempo for the Sega Saturn. And I was doing kind of a Jeff Goldblum there. It's a great game for the Sega Saturn. Super Tempo. What the hell is this game? So I believe there is a Tempo game on the 32X, if I'm not mistaken. Super Tempo, the sequel to that, sort of like, overall, it's a platformer. So you're playing as Tempo, you're going around, you're doing some platforming, you're collecting musical notes for point bonuses, and you're collecting other little various items and things, and you're killing enemies. He has a little violin, and bubbles come out of the violin, and you can use them to hurt enemies or to trap enemies in bubbles and then convert them into little musical notes. So that's pretty cool. So for the most part, this is a platformer, and a very good platformer at that. But there are also other various kinds of stages. So for example, there are stages where Super Tempo, or not so much stages, usually like with boss battles, like Super Tempo, he turns into like a giant muscly Super Tempo, and then the whole thing is like flex and get him like big and just sort of like, you know, smash the boss character, whatever it is. And Tempo has his little girlfriend. Her name is Katie. In case you didn't know, Tempo is a grasshopper, and his girlfriend Katie is a katydid, and that's adorable. But she flies around, and she has like a little gun that shoots fire. So you fly around stages and kill things with fire, and then she can, in the same way Tempo can transform into like the big muscly Tempo, Katie can transform into like a kickboxing Katie, and she's got like boxing gloves on and whatever, and you know, beat the crap out of like boss characters and stuff. So that's fun. So this game overall, really good platformer, and some fun like little diversions from the platforming as well. So gameplay wise, great game. What is most people will find most striking about this game is the visuals. This is a beautiful game. The art style is like super cartoony and colorful, and just everything is animated so well. This is one of the best looking 2D games like ever. Like, it's a beautiful game. So just the visual style, the character designs, everything about this game looks amazing, and the soundtrack is also awesome. I mean, he's Super Tempo, so it's, you know, he's a very like musical character. So the soundtrack, various styles. You get rock, you get kind of like hip hop stylings. You get some more, I don't know, maybe like a little bit of like jazz funk kind of stuff. Lots of great music in this game. Again, visually striking. One of the best looking 2D games like I've ever played in my life, and the gameplay is very fun. So, you know, it's no wonder that this game kind of like demands the prices it does now, because it's on top of being like a genuinely great game. I have the feeling that, because I don't come across it that much, maybe this is a game that didn't sell terribly well back in the day, because it's not like a Sega first party title. Maybe at the time, when was this released? 1998? So maybe at the time this is released, kind of like the Saturn is sort of at the tail end of its lifespan. You know, Dreamcast is about to come in. Maybe 2D platformers are not really the in thing at the time. So this probably didn't sell all too well at the time. And now, a good 20 some odd years later, we're looking at this and we're going, wow, this game is awesome. And there aren't that many copies lying around out there. So it's pretty damn expensive, which again is too bad. I wish everybody could play this game. If you can, you know, emulate it, which some people are like, oh, emulation, bad, bad, bad. When it comes to games like this that are so good, but they're so sort of like exclusionarily, if that's even a word, expensive, stuff like that is okay. And this is another game where it's like, man, it would be so great to see this included in some kind of like collection, or just release a digital version on like the Switch or something, or the PS4. Release it for like $10, you know, and let people enjoy this game. This game is so awesome, and I'm happy to have it here right now. This is a copy that is kind of like reserved for someone else, but I have a copy myself on the shelf. I've had a copy of this game for maybe like the past 4 years. I kind of bit the bullet 4 years ago when I was getting like really more hardcore into my collecting. I was like, I really want a copy of Tempo for my collection. Anyway, I've rambled on. I've said enough. This game is awesome. Super Tempo, Sega Saturn. Just amazing game. Play it any way you can. You know, I'm not gonna hold it against you if you don't want to get a physical copy. Last game we're gonna talk about today. Great Capcom game. Another one on the Saturn that's kind of like going up in price. It's also available on the PS1, but I think, now that I think about it, you can play this, I think, on one of those new, the Capcom arcade collections. So if that's the case, go for that. This is Tenchio Kurao 2. And I think the US version, when this was released in arcades, I think it was called Warriors of Fate. I believe it was. But this is an awesome game. It is a side-scrolling, two-player beat-em-up. And it's set in kind of, I guess, like the Three Kingdoms era Chinese history. So your characters are all like Chinese warriors using various kinds of weapons, or they're unarmed or something, and they can pick up extra weapons and things like that. But I think you have like 5 or 6 characters to choose from in this game. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, attacks, and varying levels of speed and what have you, and like throws and stuff. So it's a beat 'em up. So you got your fast characters, you got your big strong characters, you got your characters with better range. And aside from that, you can pick up additional weapons. Obviously, you can pick up power-ups and health things. And in this game, you can actually get horses as well. You can get on a horse and then go riding on the horse, and you have like a big, I don't know what like a naginata, like a giant, almost like spear and stuff like that. And you can ride on your horse, and you can run over enemies on your horse and like swing your freaking giant spear around and slash at everybody. And this is a game where typically like a lot of enemies will appear on screen at one time. So there's a lot of enemies to deal with. There's some like big, strong boss characters and things like that. So again, like weapons, you can ride horses, get all kinds of power-ups and stuff. Two-player action. This is around the same time, you know, like they're releasing these great beat-em-ups like this, and Dungeons and Dragons, and like King of Dragons, and all that great stuff. All these really great arcade beat-em-ups from that time. Captain Commando, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. So yeah, just awesome. So if you like that kind of stuff, Capcom beat-em-ups from the mid-90s, I think it says here, so this was originally released in 1992, ported in 1996. So yeah, if you like those 90s Capcom beat-em-ups, if you like Captain Commando, Dungeons and Dragons, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, that kind of thing, Tenchio Kurao 2, Warriors of Fate is a game you're definitely going to want to play. Again, it's on the Sega Saturn, it's on the PlayStation, and I believe it can now be played maybe in the second Capcom like arcade collection, whatever it is, available now. I think it's on the Switch and on the PS4. So that seems like a nice affordable way to play this game, and a whole bunch of other great ones too. But if you're a Saturn collector, it's just a great game for your Saturn. Great gameplay, great graphics, great sound design. It's 90s Capcom, so you know you're getting something good. Tenchio Kurao 2, awesome game, great beat 'em up. I myself am a lover of the beat 'em up genre. Alright, so there you go, that's it. Half a dozen really, really good Sega Saturn games. Stuff I highly encourage people to play, maybe with the exception of Sonic R. Maybe just go on YouTube, look up some of the Sonic R music. Just go search Sonic R OST and enjoy some of that music, because it's really good, because the game itself is kind of frustrating to play. Even though, I don't know, it has an allure. Sonic games have an allure. But other really great stuff in there. Again, some of it's kind of expensive, so if you can play it digitally somehow, if it's available on some sort of, you know, online gaming system, eShop or PS4, you know, PlayStation Store, or I mean, hey, if you just got to emulate something, I mean, again, like Super Tempo, an amazing game, one of the best looking 2D games I've ever played, and just overall just a fantastic platformer. Fans of 2D platformers should have an opportunity to play it because it's awesome. It's just the Saturn version is like a few $100. It's, you know, not, you know, it's unreasonable for anyone that isn't like a collector. So yeah, that's kind of sad, right? When really great games that, you know, lots of people would enjoy playing become collector's items, and now they're, you know, they're so expensive, most people don't get to play them. So that's when you turn to emulation. And hey, more power to you. Anyway, I feel like I've said enough. You've probably heard enough. Down in the comments, what do you think of these games? Are any of them on your wish list? Do you have a Saturn wish list, especially for Japanese games? Because there's a lot of good stuff on the Japanese Saturn that was not released outside of Japan. Sad as that is. Shoot 'em ups, platformers, all that good stuff. So let me know what are some of your favorites and what are some games you'd like to play for the Saturn. And until next time, thanks for watching more games, everybody, and I will see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.